This is Mac OS Ken.
A look at waits for the latest Apple hardware, a couple of stories from the supply chain, and a spot of trouble over comments from Cook. It is Monday, the 9th of November, 2020. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by MacPaw, makers of Clean My Mac X. Your Mac as good as new. Learn more about Clean My Mac X and download it for free at macpaw.app/macosken. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macosken. Apple opened orders for 3 new products last Friday. 72 hours later, some are harder to get than others. Apple Insider ran a report midday Friday saying that shipping times had already slipped for iPhone 12 mini, iPhone 12 Pro Max, and HomePod Mini. I can tell you most of what they said for the US is no longer accurate, though I did do a thing I usually do, looked at the devices that I would order as a sort of example case. As of Sunday evening, iPhone 12 Pro Max Pacific Blue 128GB unlocked was showing delivery between the 1st of December and the 8th of December. Get the same phone with AT&T as your carrier, and you can still have it Friday the 13th of November. Choose Sprint and you're looking at the 25th of November through the 1st of December, same date range for T-Mobile. Not surprising since they're the same company now. And finally going Verizon goes back to this week. People who pulled the trigger on the same model Sunday evening with Big Red would be staring at their giant new phones this Friday, the 13th of November. Now, changing from Pacific Blue does change availability, at least for the unlocked phones. Graphite 128GB unlocked 12 Pro Max shows a shipping range of the 25th of November through the 1st of December. You get the same date range for silver, though gold looks to be nearly as popular as Pacific Blue at this point. As of Sunday evening, iPhone 12 Pro Max Gold 128GB unlocked was showing delivery between the 1st of December and the 8th of December. Turning to the iPhone 12 mini and again doing my less than exhaustive check, looking at locked or unlocked 64GB or 128 blue or product red models. Those configurations ordered Sunday evening in the States would have your teeny tiny phone in your suddenly huge seeming hands this Friday, the 13th of November. I didn't do the checks of various carriers on those because I didn't. With fewer configurations from which to choose, sizing up HomePod Mini availability is easier. Trying to buy a space gray model Sunday evening would have you listening sometime between the 2nd and 10th of December. That's pushed out a day from Friday afternoon when the range had already slipped from the 1st of December through the 8th. And God bless it, people are finally settling for the white HomePod Mini. When I checked Friday afternoon, ship times were still in the first round range of 17th of November through the 20th. As of Sunday evening, that had moved a bit. Leading into today, white HomePod Minis were showing a shipping range between the 24th of November and the 3rd of December. Now, while I've not ventured into online stores for other countries, another piece for Apple Insider had some crazy-sounding wait times for HomePod Mini on Friday afternoon. They saw the same thing I did for the US on Friday, a 2 to 3 week wait time for Space Gray and no wait for white. The wait for Space Gray was a bit longer in other countries, clocking 3 to 4 weeks in the UK, Canada, and France. The craziest wait, though, was in Germany. On Friday afternoon, a newly ordered Space Gray HomePod Mini would not arrive for between 6 and 7 weeks. That was not the crazy wait. The crazy wait was for the white one, which had a wait time of 7 to 8 weeks in Germany. Now, one thing we know about the apparent HomePod Mini shortage, it's not because of people buying and hoarding them. iMore ran a report Friday saying that Apple has put a limit on the number of smaller smart speakers one can order. That limit is 2. Apple doesn't say why the limit is in place according to the piece, but it won't let anyone complete the checkout process if they have more than 2 units in their order. 2 quick points on that. First, it's kind of a funny move for a device that Apple seems to want all over your house. And second, one wonders whether that 2 device limit could simply be overcome by going back and placing another order. I'm the one wondering that, by the way, but I'm not going to test it out. One of Apple's stylish sales initiatives has gone live. Mac Rumors ran a piece Saturday saying the Cupertino company had flipped the switch on iPhone 12 Studio. The online service allows would-be buyers to customize iPhone 12 models with various MagSafe cases and wallets to see how the color combinations look. Remember a few weeks ago when we found out that use of a MagSafe charger with a leather case would leave a mark? Yeah, Apple's decided to lean into that. When the cases and accessories went up for order a couple of weeks ago, Apple quietly warned people that its new MagSafe charger would leave rings on certain cases. I say quietly because the warning was on a support doc about using the MagSafe charger, not exactly front and center, and even there, the font with the stated warning was smaller and lighter than the rest of the text on the page. Like fine print under hard-to-find fine print. Well, Apple's not being as quiet about it now. Another piece from Mac Rumors says Apple's promo pics actually show the discoloration. Well, one of them does. According to the report, as you cycle through Apple's pics for its leather MagSafe cases, the last pic in the line depicts how the appearance of the case may change over time when regularly using the MagSafe charger or other MagSafe accessories. Still not front and center, but not nearly as hidden as before. Considering that Apple has gone as far as to directly show how the MagSafe accessories can permanently imprint its cases, says the piece, it seems highly likely that the company expects many users to experience the issue. Customers should therefore be aware of this behavior ahead of making the purchase. Morgan Stanley analyst Katie Huberty is liking what she's seeing for the latest iPhones in the supply chain. Apple Insider had the Hube issuing a note last week, noting better than expected earnings for Apple suppliers. Quoting the report, 7 Apple suppliers, including Qualcomm, Texas Instruments, Qorvo, and Cirrus Logic, reported earnings that surprised to the upside and beat consensus estimates by an average of 7%. Those suppliers also issued guidance above consensus by about 13% on average, implying a 12% quarter-over-quarter revenue growth after 3 years of flat seasonality growth. While parts of the boost could be due to the late arrival of iPhone 12 Mini and iPhone 12 Pro Max, Huberty thinks comments from suppliers show better than expected demand. Huberty has an overweight rating on Apple shares. Her price target on the shares is $136. Cool as the demand news is for Apple, it's not all sunshine and lollipops in the supply chain. TechCrunch highlights a Bloomberg report saying Apple has suspended new business with Taiwan-based supplier Pegatron. In a statement given to Bloomberg, Apple said Pegatron misclassified the student workers in their program and falsified paperwork to disguise violations of our code, including allowing students to work nights and or overtime, and in some cases to perform work unrelated to their major. The piece says Apple has placed Pegatron on probation until it finishes taking corrective action. If your friend with the new iPhone 12 isn't responding to your texts, it's not you, it's them. I mean, it might be you. It also might just be their phone. iMore highlights a post in Apple's support community that has people saying they're not getting some messages in group chat. That post begins, "Since upgrading from my iPhone 10 to iPhone 12 Pro, I've noticed in a group text, SMS, that I'm randomly missing texts. My husband is in the group too, so I can see I'm missing multiple texts at random, Anyone else having this issue? The answer seems to be yes. iMore goes on to say a bunch of other iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro owners have responded to the question, saying that they were having similar issues. One user said that they went through an extensive troubleshooting process that has so far not made a difference. To this point, Apple appears to have neither offered a fix nor even acknowledged the issue. More news in a moment, but first a word from MacPaw, makers of Clean My Mac X. Your Mac as good as new. Clean My Mac X is all-in-one cleaning and optimizing software for your Mac. Clean My Mac X declutters your Mac and runs maintenance scripts to keep your Mac's performance at its peak. While it does a lot of cool stuff, one of the smartest features it has is Smart Scan. Smart Scan examines your Mac for system log files and user cache that really have no use. Chances are your Mac is holding on to gigabytes and gigabytes of junk that's taking up space and slowing down your computer. Regular maintenance can be key to a clean machine. Take care of it with the push of a virtual button and Clean My Mac X. I wish I'd known about it years ago. Learn more about Clean My Mac X and download it for free at macpaw.app/macOSKen. That's MACPAW, macpaw.app/macOSKen. That's macpaw.app/macOSKen for Clean My Mac X. And a big thanks to MacPaw for sponsoring today's show. Apple CEO Tim Cook is on the hook for comments made a couple of years ago. Set the Wayback Machine to November of 2018. On Apple's fourth quarter earnings call, Apple CEO talked about challenges on the horizon for the company. One thing he said was not a worry was China. But it should have been. By January 2019, says a piece from Cult of Mac, Apple cut its quarterly revenue guidance by $9 billion. This was, Cook said, partly because of the situation in China associated with the then burgeoning trade issues with the U.S. In a letter to shareholders, Cook wrote, "While we anticipated some challenges in key emerging markets, we did not foresee the magnitude of the economic deceleration, particularly in Greater China." Shares of Apple dropped around 10% after that, wiping $74 billion from the company's market cap. Flash forward a couple of years, and the Cult says a UK pension fund has been given the green light to sue Apple over the disclosure, or lack thereof. In giving the case the go-ahead, U.S. District Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers said, "It strains credibility that the CEO wouldn't know how hard the trade tensions between China and the U.S. could be on Apple." No word in the piece on when the case is likely to go to trial. One of the coolest things about technology is when it can suddenly do something it couldn't do before. Engadget says the FDA has approved the sale of Nightwear, an Apple Watch app with a corresponding iPhone element that helps treat nightmares stemming from disorders like PTSD. The system uses smartwatch motion and heart rate data to detect when you're having a nightmare and vibrate the watch in response, arousing but not waking you to interrupt bad dreams and maintain sleep. How serious is this app? Well, it's prescription only according to the piece, so that'll give you an idea. It's also not a solution on its own. Rather, the company behind Nightwear says the app is one part of a bigger treatment strategy that does include medication. It is still fascinating to see the tech that we already have evolve before our eyes. And finally today, rumor of a big podcasting move for Apple. Apple Insider cites a Bloomberg report that says the Cupertino company either has talked or is talking to the podcast network Wondery about an acquisition. To be clear, it would be Apple buying Wondery, not the other way around. According to the piece, Wondery pulls in as many as 8 million listens per month, with shows like Bunga Bunga and Dr. Death. The company is said to be looking for a buyer, hoping to get somewhere between $300 million and $400 million. The report says Apple, Sony, and 2 unnamed companies are in discussions to buy Wondery. Talks are ongoing, but the podcaster is looking to seal a deal in the coming months. Now, at first, that sounds nuts, but Wondery's already into a lot of stuff that would fold in nicely with other Apple offerings. According to Apple Insider, the producer holds rights to a slate of content that can be remodeled for mainstream media platforms and is already using its podcast lineup to develop more than a dozen TV shows. The firm also has ties to Apple, with one podcast, We Crashed, The Rise and Fall of WeWork, being adapted for Apple TV+. Hey, in case you're listening, Apple, I've got a stable of shows that I'll let go for the right price. I'll confess, I don't draw 8 million listens a month, so I'd start lower than 300 million that Wondery's looking for. I could probably let them go for 250 million. And I'll throw in a microphone. Call me. Coming up in a few minutes, ahead of tomorrow's One More Thing event, a few solo minutes from me and one of last week's live shows. The one from a week ago today, actually. First thoughts on One More Thing in a few minutes. Look for that show wherever you get podcasts. That live thing, by the way, that's happening every Monday through Friday, 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. You can catch it on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/KenRay, or catch the audio podcast, macOS Ken Live, also wherever you get podcasts. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by MacPaw, makers of Clean My Mac X. Learn more about Clean My Mac X and download it for free at macpaw.app/macOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.